the Lord. My name is Lydia, and for today's video meditation, I would like to turn your attention to the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verses 28 through 33. So this is a passage where Jesus is having a conversation with his disciples, and he's asking them as to who do they think he is. So we know that by this time the disciples have seen and witnessed all the works and the word which Jesus has been preaching to them personally as well as the people. He's asking them this question, to which Peter replies that he is Christ, or he is the Messiah, which is a deeper revelation. And in the verses below, we find Jesus is letting them know that he will have to suffer a few things, and he will be killed, and that on the third day he will rise up again. And this news of death, suffering, came as a shocker for these disciples, and to a level that Peter took Jesus aside and he rebuked Jesus, the Messiah, for saying such things. And we see in turn Jesus rebukes Peter for thinking from a man's or from a worldly perspective. So this is not the first instance, right? We see this is the core team of Jesus. They have been with Jesus day and night, and we see throughout the Gospels that whenever Jesus tried to tell them something about God's perfect will, right? They really did not they did not understand it. They did not understand it. And even when Jesus was trying to clarify their questions, still they could not understand, because they had a set of expectations which was coming in between their way of understanding what God's perfect will is. So what was their expectations we see here is that during those times, their expectation of the Messiah was that he was going to overthrow the Roman Empire and regain the glory of Israel, because Israel is God's chosen people. So that was their expectation. But we see throughout, that their expectations was coming in between. So, and even, and even when Jesus was clarifying, like I mentioned, Jesus did not sit and keep telling them till they got it, right? He knew that at the right time they will understand everything. So that is something which Jesus knew, and that is something which we need to trust in God, on God for. So I just want to say a few things from this passage. Is that first off, even the disciples didn't have things figured out, and so it's okay that we as Christians, knowing that God is good and that he has a perfect plan, we don't have it figured out, and that's okay. But one thing which is figured out is our salvation, which is secured in Jesus Christ. And the second thing is most of the times when we get disappointed and we feel like God is not working, is because we have a set of expectations which is not being met by whatever is happening in our life. So we need to check whether these expectations which we have are in congruence to what God's perfect will is in our life, right? So we see even when Jesus died, we see the disciples, their expectations were crushed. Their expectations were crushed. And after their expectations, they understood that it's not, what God is intending through whatever is happening. God in his time made them understand what God's bigger plan is, right? So we might have expectations which might not be in congruence to what God's will is, and as humans it is very natural for us to have those expectations. But we can ask God to give us the grace to put aside those expectations and have an open mind, so that we would just keep trusting in God, right? And this takes waiting. It takes patience. And I would just like to end with one example of waiting is of Jesus. Jesus waited for 30 years to start his ministry, and it's not like he was not equipped with power or the word. He was, but God thought Jesus needed to wait for 30 years, right, for his 3 years of ministry. But everything worked out for the best at the right time. So I encourage you all to continue waiting on God, and he will surely give you the strength to do so. So be blessed.